Peace and power. Dr. DAW back in the building. Special guest family. Today's title is FBA Psychological Warfare on the Black Community. Special guest, Dr. Jared Ball on Conversations with Dr. DAW.
You're going to get your mind back. Black and proud. Black and proud. When you claim you're Africanist, you're going to get your mind back. Black and proud. Claim you're African. Black and proud. I'm telling you. When you claim you're Africanist, you're going to get your mind back. Black and proud. Claim you're African. Black and proud. I'm telling you. When you claim you're Africanist, you're going to get your mind back. Black and proud. Claim you're African. Black and proud. I'm telling you. Become a part of it. Embrace it. 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 When you claim you're Africanist, you're going to get your mind back. Black and proud. Claim you're African. Black and proud. I'm telling you. When you claim you're Africanist, you're going to get your mind back. Black and proud. Claim you're African. Black and proud. I'm telling you.
Family, 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 family. We are back again. Conversations with Dr. DAW. Make sure you, as you come in the building, you like the link, you like the video, you share the video. Make sure you share this video because this is going to be a serious conversation with a serious mind in our community. I would say, I like to, because he's so humble with I'm going to say one of our brightest minds of the time. You know what I mean? And I really mean this, right? I can appreciate a mind whether I agree with it or not completely, because that's one thing I can admire about a person. But nonetheless, this mind, I don't tend to disagree. We can all disagree on approach and this and that, but in fact, we need multiple approaches. So I'm so honored to have my dear brother, Dr. Jared Ball in the house, and Dr. Ball is going to break it down. Break it down. Yes, he's going to break it down. So again, Dr. Ball, welcome to Conversations with Dr. DAW. And today's title is FBA Psychological Warfare on the Black Community. I don't have anything written. But nonetheless, let the people know, and I like to say it like this, why you are essential to the conversation. Tell them a little bit about you. For those that don't know, I know you're known worldwide and all those type of things over these screens. So what's happening, Doc?
So first of all, it's an honor, and I appreciate the invitation. So salute to you and your audience. And it's always a pleasure to be in this space. It's always good to come back. I don't know that I'm essential to the conversation. Why I'm happy to be part of the conversation is just that, my background in Africana and media studies, my desire to and work in various political organizations and in support of various political organizations. And as also a critic of media and narrative and all of that, and I should say specifically as a Pan-Africanist and coming out of the Africana and Black studies community and world, I found myself in some political confrontation with the analysis coming out of FBA and other related hashtag and community groups and et cetera and so forth. So I have some experience with some of those involved, with some of their arguments, with some of the narrative, as an educator at an HBCU here in Morgan State, and someone often engaged in, again, Black educational activist journalistic media spaces. These discussions have always been in some variety part of the discussions. That is the diaspora conversations, the various experience of Africans here in the United States versus other parts of the hemisphere and diaspora, et cetera, have always been part. of those spaces and movements and studies that I've been involved in. So when this new form joined the fray over the last few years, it made sense that I would be in some sort of conversation or dispute even with it. So that's, so again, I don't know that I'm necessary, but that explains at least, I think, why I've been involved and why, to a certain extent, at least.
You just brought up a question. Yeah. I have two questions. One about dispute and whether or not you think is essential. And I asked that question because lots of times in some of the Pan-African spaces, they would say these type of conversations are not needed. We need to just continue to do the work.
No, I don't. I can't agree with that, particularly at this point. And in fact, borrowing from an argument that I heard and saw recently in a different space, different context, almost entirely, somewhat at least, I actually think the opposite. I think what we need is more, as the term was used in that space, polarization.
Say that again?
We need more polarization.
Okay.
And by that, I mean, as I interpret it, not meaning hostility and conflict for the sake of disunity and fragmentation, but clarity around differences in ideas, arguments, analysis, politics, etc., that need to be challenged and hashed out. And one of the reasons, to the extent that we don't do that, we allow for everything from the topic we're talking about today to other, I think, harmful ideas to evolve and take hold and metastasize and become more of a problem.
Yeah.
So I think there should be, I think in the way you put it, we don't always have to agree, but where we disagree, we should have a conversation about it. And we should be clear why we disagree, how we each reached the conclusions we've reached, and lay out our methods and ideas and arguments for examination. And if necessary, to make changes. But to the extent that, and if we can't come to some agreement or consensus, to at least be clear why and where we disagree, and operate accordingly around that. But this whole thing of we shouldn't have these conversations, we should avoid argument, we shouldn't air our laundry, all of that kind of stuff. I think I can't agree with that at this point, and think everything should be brought out into the light of day. Kind of like what I've heard Dhoruba bin Wahad say years ago, that everything should be on the table except for tactics and strategy. But in terms of ideas and disputes, everything should be discussed, and we should be able to do it peaceably and with principle. And I say that admitting that I have at times engaged in some as we discussed a little bit off air, as could be described as pettiness, or I haven't always been the most mature or even principled, I would argue, in my engagement. But to that extent, I should be criticized for that, and then we should move on and get back to whatever the topic is and the ideas that need to be discussed. So yeah, I'm just acknowledging, having not always been perfect, that we should all do better. But the goal should be to tend towards, some sort of principled polarization, I guess.
Yeah. I appreciate that. Some principled polarization. So a dialectical type process,
maybe
even dialogical.
Maybe. Yeah.
Now, I've seen you in various settings, various spaces, and I have to admit that you always seem to bring up things that it's kind of like taking a heavy dosage of medicine. We kind of talked about that a bit, maybe in different ways before this started. But one of the critiques I've heard you say, and I remember even myself, along with various other people on the panel, respond to you and your critique about social media years ago. In some ways, kind of like missing the point. I would say, at least on my behalf, like, or at least defending something that didn't need to be defended. You would say something like, you know what I'm talking about? The point that you make about social media being like a governmental or state funded or like something like.
Well, I mean, I don't remember exactly what I said then, but I've often made the point, as others have made, that our media environment, first of all, has to be understood in the context of its military application. And the internet in particular has to be understood in the context of its military foundation and origin as well. And then in terms of the specifics of social media, it has to be understood that to whatever extent you or I or anyone else can engage in social media, so can and do intelligence communities, agencies, and any number of other political enemies and combatants that are out there. So in that context, we can't just assume that because we can engage the space and seem to do what we want to do with it, that it will do for us what we hope in terms of building movements, liberation, freedom, et cetera, and so forth. So it's somewhere in there is I'm sure where I was going with what I was.
Like, I think you were saying more like, and I might have missed it because you see I'm here multitasking. I was just asking you, Brother Ty, if you could check the live sound, make sure it's doing good. Okay. All right. Thank you. So, family, if you could put one in the chat to make sure we sound good and we're actually coming through pretty good, I appreciate that. But I'm wondering if, okay, you would say something like it was that not just social media, but the internet itself, I think at that time was set up in a way to I don't know if to cause division or as a surveillance type of.
I mean, and again, I'm building off of a lot of scholarship over the years that some of which we could point to, obviously Joshua Levine, Surveillance Valley, somewhat recently was one, but Chris Simpson, whose book we're using right now in one of my classes, is another that but Michael Parenti, who just passed away recently, had a lot to say about this as well. But essentially the point being that the internet, much like all media technology, at least in terms of their use, but the internet itself was designed to in effect create militarily the effect of psychological warfare and surveillance that it was being the use to which it was being put in combat in Korea and Vietnam, most specifically. And the idea was to take this early technology being developed in the advanced research projects of the defense community to allow computers to communicate in that environment privately and secretly, to become the foundation of the internet, to become what could be used to create the surveillance to not only monitor what various segments of society were saying, doing, and leaning towards culturally, politically, et cetera, but also to impose psychological warfare, propaganda, counterinsurgent ideas back on those communities to manipulate those tendencies towards radical political organization, movement building, or just critique of the oppression that whoever we're talking about was suffering. In this case, Black African descended people here in the United States. Whatever was being suffered needed to be targeted with this very variety of surveillance and application of targeted and meticulously designed propaganda for our community. And again, all with the goal of creating a certain consciousness, a certain identity, tendencies towards consumption, ideas around liberation, freedom, democracy, capitalism, and so on. So all of this, was applied to all various communities, but in this case, shaped specifically for Africans here in the United States to destroy an African consciousness, suppress a recognition of a diaspora, an international history and experience, and to reconstruct, as Malcolm X said, the Negro is the creation of the white man. And it's essential to the process of maintaining a colonial relationship or an oppressive relationship, that the oppressor has a lot to do with the self-concept of the oppressed, and with the public opinion of the oppressed, and with the ability for anyone in the ability among oppressed communities to convey counter narratives or alternative narratives amongst themselves without punishment. So yeah, so I'm just so however I was saying then, however I'm trying to say saying it now, the goal of my argument, or the point, is that the goal of the use of the construction of our media environment and social media within that is to play these roles in disrupting any development of critical and radical consciousness among an oppressed community. And even those communities that are technically, we wouldn't consider to be oppressed. I mean, even affluent white male communities, for instance, are targeted with a specific form of psychological warfare that encourages them to continue to believe of themselves as superior and necessary and dominant, et cetera, and so forth, and to consume and to shop and to wave a flag and to do all that. So they are suffering. Maybe that word could be in quotes here, but they are suffering a form of psychological warfare and propaganda, not unlike what we are suffering. Again, the key differences, of course, are what is contained in that messaging and what is the ultimate impact and result of that messaging. But the initial goal of manipulating the public opinion and the consciousness of every segment of society is consistent across those societies.
So I appreciate that. So there's a few places my mind is going. One is I'm gonna say all of them, and you do with what you will with it. Baba Small, and him calling out or suggesting that there may be some COINTEL. I think he was being nice, actually. Some COINTELness perhaps going on as it pertains to FBA and ADOS and the like. And two, I'm one. Well, have you seen that?
I've seen, yeah. I mean, I've seen clips and segments and references to him making that and others making similar claims. If that's what you're asking.
Yeah. So that, and I think I lost the second one, but I think as it relates to, what are your thoughts about, and the other thought might come back, but what are your thoughts about maybe that and FBA, ADOS, or the like as pertains to psychological warfare? Maybe perhaps you can tell us a little bit what psychological warfare is and psyops, and from your perspective and framework.
Well, just quickly, my perspective is that psychological warfare, information warfare, counterinsurgency, marketing, branding, advertising, mass communication, and probably some more that I would think of. These are all euphemisms, that they are all born of the same logic, and in some cases, the very same centers of study. They were all born out of the very conscious and purposeful evolution of a field of mass communications research, of military, of communicative warfare elements of the military, to take, again, what is used tactically within military settings to apply them to civilian settings, all for the purposes of managing all of us within this settler colony. So psychological warfare is, I mean, they're all just the conscious and targeted design or conscious and targeted effort of in this case, a political ruling elite to manipulate the thought patterns and ideas and the ideology. And in the words of George Creel, the legendary 20th century military propagandist and strategist, the convictions, to conquer our convictions. Or as Jen Easterly has said more recently, coming out of the National Security Agency, to construct our cognitive infrastructure. In other words, the goal of psychological warfare or marketing or advertising is to sort of infiltrate the foundations of our desires and interests, to manipulate them, to construct them, and then to offer a solution that you can only get through them. So and militarily, psychological warfare is often described as having to do with distracting an enemy to make it so that they can't either communicate clearly amongst themselves, or that they're operating off of bad and false ideas, or that they are so busy solving some sort of intellectual or mental puzzle that they can't focus on a tactical physical operation. And in many ways, that's exactly what is happening to all of us in the guise of entertainment, popular culture, dominant narratives, and in short, our broader media ecology or environment, ecological environment. All that to say that when it comes to assessing, is this or that a counterintelligence program or not, my approach, at least, is without the data or the evidence to make a conclusive claim. My approach has been to gauge the political arguments and to try to track some of the foundations of the arguments that are being made, and sometimes to just match them with what are the goals of the ruling elite as they've been expressed by the ruling elite or exposed by those challenging them. So rather than saying ADOS or FBA are a psychological warfare counterinsurgent imposition on the community, I would just simply say, and have been saying, that entering into a media environment that is very welcoming and set up and designed to advance psychological warfare, counterinsurgent operations against Black people, these groups have emerged to take very white, conservative, right-wing political positions and advocate them in the guise and under the symbolism and labeling of Black pride, organization, even radicalism. So I don't know if they're a counterintelligence program. I don't know if they're in a consciously constructed project of some sort of militarized psychological warfare. I don't know. What I do know, and what I am confident in arguing, is that their arguments and their goals match up very well with what would be the goals and have been the goals expressed in the counterintelligence program of the past, and are expressed in different ways in various counterinsurgency literature that I've seen over the last few years, most of which I've focused on argues for the manipulation of the signs and symbols of the target community. So if, in this case, Black America is constantly arguing for some sort of liberation, national advance, whether it's reparations, national liberation, a total, socialist overthrow, whatever Black people, civil rights, liberal integration, whatever Black people are arguing for, the goal would be, from the ruling elite's perspective, let's manipulate those symbols and arguments in our favor. So, as is mostly the focus of my work, particularly lately, if the ruling elite said, as they did very consciously, let's rebrand Black power as Black capitalism, why wouldn't the same logic be applied to let's rebrand Black liberation and reparations under the guise of an American flag waving, conservative, US-based, narrow nationalist, in terms of America, not even Black nationalism, integrationist viewpoint. and in that way it works very well. But can I argue and with definitive, aggression that they are these things? No, but they fit well within, and that to me is my bigger problem.
So I think that I could agree with you, but I'll take the step forward to say they're definitely practicing psychological warfare. The FBA and ADOS groups.
Okay.
And I would say that they're practicing it, not even if they mean well. I don't think they mean, I don't believe they mean well. Maybe they do. I don't know about the leadership all the time. But the leaders, FBA said it doesn't have a leader. I say that FBA, which they call a lineage, is a identity category which was created by Tariq Nasheed. He has the trademark on it. He also has a website that has all types of doctrine on it. So my argument has been, and I maintain it to this day, that is an identity category, a subgroup within the African American population that has some mythological framing that they are the group, the 42 million black people in America who ancestry came through chattel slavery. They are so in other words, they have an ideology attached to that identity, and our identity does, but they say, no, we're just a lineage and we have no leaders and we have no ideology, which is furthest from the truth. Because even if you go to their website, it kind of reminded me of when people were going back to Black Lives Matter website back in the day. And it was hard to see, like, well, are they really fighting for black men? And then you're like, well, why do you got to mess with everything? Because they got trans, queer, like, okay, so I feel there's something very similar there. Like they have something like on the website. I'll give you an example of what's on FBA website. They have something called half breeds, like half FBA. Oh. So, huh?
I'm just laughing at that. That's a new application of half breed to me.
Like my sons will be considered half FBA. And on that site, it gives you the edict, the order that they can never be in leadership positions unless they have a proven track record of working on behalf of the FBA community, aka African American community, and so they'll never be able to be in leadership positions. There's another thing that's kind of very insidious. It's like, well, first of all, if there's no ideology and it's just a lineage, who is the judge of who is qualifying whether or not they can operate in those positions? And there was something else I wanted to say that's interesting about this FBA. It has so much stuff on there. It says that I can't recall, but you look like you got something.
No, other than, I mean, so again, to the extent I've paid attention to,
you sound good. Okay.
To the extent I've paid attention to the FBA argument, I'm good.
Yeah.
I've really stopped at the assessment of their claims against Pan-Africanism, and seeing nothing radically or different or revolutionary in their argument around reparations. I just assumed that I admit that I assumed that their politics were not that different from ADOS, and that this was largely, as you mentioned, an issue of trademark and distinction for the purposes of trademarking. And then, however, folks would then have to determine on their own what that then means. But so that politically, and I am more familiar with research specific to ADOS, and again, just tracked that their arguments are, or their political positions just follow along the lines of, again, very white conservative, not only in terms of their overlap with some of these organizations, these anti-immigration organizations and whatnot, white nationalist and anti-immigration, but again, not following what I've understood to be the Black radical tradition, not involving radical Pan-Africanism, not involving, anything along the lines of socialism, African-centered radicalism, and condemning all of that. So that for me makes the arguments and their conclusions non-starters, because, but the specifics around what you were just describing there, I can't claim to be too familiar with.
Well, let me give you what I was going to say.
But
it says I'm sorry, you about to say something?
No, that's it.
It says historically there have been, this is from the website. Historically, there have been two types of FBA individuals. In a general sense, loyalists to their FBA lineage and heritage, and anchored tethers who view FBA society as a group to exploit ultimately. Oh, that's not the one I want to say. But what I want to say is, this is what I want to say. It says here, what is the status of people with half FBA, half immigrant lineage? It says, if you are a person classified as Black who has one parent from an immigrant background and another parent who can be traced to American slave plantations, then you are considered a foundational Black American still. So that's a part of the ideology.
So you only need one parent.
You only need one parent.
So that's why I was laughing, because I am quote unquote a half breed, but I'm a full FBA.
So you're full FBA, but you're full FBA, but half breed. But what they say is, let me. I'm not even gonna read it anymore. But on the website, what it says is, you have to choose what side you are on. It says you have to be careful about those children, similar to my own, because they will have dual allegiances many times, and in other words, they have to choose their Americanness over their Caribbeanness.
Right. Again, this is what I'm saying about this being a very white nationalist argument. So, and again, what is the prize once you do this? So this has always been sort of my problem with pun intended, the foundations of their argument, that the prize then is to become a Black American, which in the context of this settler colony means what? Constant oppression, hostility, violence, et cetera, and so forth. So what is in other words, what is the political project that these groups have that would bring liberation? And to borrow again from another discussion I heard recently in another context, what would bring not only liberation, national liberation, but then dignity? So to me, and I agree with, in this case, again, Vijay Prashad on this point, that if there's no socialism, then there can't be dignity for this nationally liberated group, because it's only through a socialist project or process that you can assure that everybody in that society is materially taken care of. So to me, these FBA, ADOS political arguments are simply saying, let's become fully integrated American citizens, get this repertory outlay. I don't pretend to know all the details of how FBA defines reparations. And then we would quote unquote live happily ever after with our FBA leaders presiding over and determining who is in and who is not, and who gets what percent of what pie is left for this community. And again, in this context, it's not going to be very much, because again, I don't want to, let me not start to assess their project for reparations, but just to say, that's just it. What is the prize of being in the club, so to speak, being assessed as being FBA or ADOS? What do you end up getting beyond their form of reparations?
They say they're tired of everybody
Mhm.
disrespecting them.
Mhm.
They're tired of Black immigrants, Caribbeans, and Africans mainly. I even did a video the other day because I noticed something, that they typically have issues with Black people or African descended folk who come from Black dominant societies.
Mhm.
They're not really coming strongly for those from the UK and Canada and the like.
The Black Brits aren't a problem.
They're not dealing with, look, as I said on the show the other day, they're not really coming for Black Europeans. You know what I'm saying?
Afropeans.
Yeah, Afropeans. They're not coming for them.
So this is again part of the problem, and this is actually how effective propaganda does work. That it starts with some foundation, again, pun intended, in reality. That there are hostilities within the diaspora. I work on a Black campus, so I see the quote unquote diaspora wars all the time. The problem is not that these. It isn't to deny that these issues exist.
Right.
The problem is how, again, do we go about assessing, interpreting the foundations, again, pun intended, of those hostilities, and then what approach do we take to addressing them?
Absolutely.
And this is why I keep saying that we can see there's a long documented history of this country and its allies aggressing against Pan-Africanism, aggressing against communism, aggressing against radical forms of African-centered unity in politics and formation and national liberatory projects. They welcome all forms of conservative, US-wedded, Black capitalist entrepreneurial activity and political organization and focus. They advocate and encourage that. So again, without knowing or being able to make any definitive claims about what are these projects and their origin, we can assess how they line up with the politics of our oppressors. And they line up all too well. So that's, again, where my red flag started before I even, raised the first question or criticism about what was going on. And so, yeah, so again, I would, let me rephrase that. I'm unmoved by the arguments I've seen and heard around what the purpose of all this is, and do see it as being, unfortunately, more effective than I would want it to be in interfering and inhibiting some conversation.
So I did some research though. And again, I think it's a bit of, I understand the diasporic wars or what have you, diaspora wars. But I think that when we look at this though, and I'm kind of like utilizing your like your frame, like, but what actually is going on? So my research background is an identity, race-based trauma. So I want to know, what does the research say about Afro-Caribbean sentiment and African sentiment and African-American sentiment? Because they say that African-American, anybody can be African-American, but that's not how things that's not how it's done.
No.
You know what I mean? So then they start to say Elon Musk can be an African-American. They have all the worst
I remember that
propaganda. I call it, so I'm going to again say it's psychological warfare, because when they find out that it's a lie, they continue. So again, I'm saying it's psychological warfare, and I'm treating it as such. Somebody asked me that I want to debate Tariq Nasheed. How can I debate somebody that I feel is a traitor to my race? Because I'm not really going in there to, I mean, if he wants that, he has to really like this has to be seen as I see him as a traitor, a propagandist, a exploiter. I'm like, so what are we going to debate? It's going to be like, I don't know what to do with that. Because if I see somebody that's pironic to my community like he is and has been, what we going to debate that?
So again, this is in part for, I guess, for similar reasons, but again, for me, tactically, I've wanted to as much as possible stay focused on what are the arguments of not the intent of the person, not the performance on a debate stage or a platform or a podcast, but the claims and the arguments.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That comes via him.
Well, but I'm saying, which for me though wouldn't necessitate engaging in a debate.
Oh yeah. So
it would, because I don't know at this point to what extent I see debates as being of value. It would, I don't know. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about that. But what I do, but again, for me, they're not. For me personally, tactically, it's not. I think. So that's why I'm trying to say that and then I'm also trying to think of how it plays out in my classrooms too.
Yeah.
So I don't want to encourage in that role certain levels of combativeness. So just try to stay focused on, well, what are their claims after all of the bluster and the performance and the name calling and this and that? What is the argument? And that's why I keep coming back to the argument is again unmoving to me and lines up too much with those against whom I've been working to whatever extent.
I debate the claims, and that's what I've been doing.
Yeah.
Now I would debate the claims even with the loss, but as Dr. Dr. Asa G. Hilliard spoke about one time. He's borrowing from game theory that there are creators of the game, and then there are people who are participating in the game in different levels. And whether or not it's a sub-oppressor I'm talking about people like the Dear Brother, I'm calling him Dear Brother, or others who create these cults, organizations that aren't organizations or lineages or what have you. They are the creators. And I won't get stuck there, but what I want to say, I debate the very points, but they double talk every time you point out that this is inaccurate. I don't know how many things I've pointed out that was inaccurate, from the fact that that they don't have ethnicity on the census, to what we're talking about now, getting back to the sentiments of Africans and Caribbeans. In fact, the research supported that Afro-Caribbeans show more solidarity in the direction of African Americans than the reverse.
I think I've heard that before.
Yeah. And it also showed that Africans and African Americans, they have a similar strong connections, more than half, more than 50%. I'm saying 80-something%. In fact, with Caribbeans, the research showed there's no difference statistically between their own people and the way that they and their feelings of closeness and solidarity with African Americans.
So, but for me though, as again, I think that's important and interesting. But again, for me, I would want to make the point or the arguments around, well, what is causing these divisions in the first place? And again, what are the best ways of approaching those divisions? And that's why I'm saying, I know that, look, I know all kinds of things that could be said about how the diaspora is being played against Black America and vice versa. But the issue is, do we respond by taking very conservative positions and making conservative political arguments? And obviously the question is, no. So that's why the response can't be, let's sever ties with the diaspora, wrap ourselves in the American flag, and wed ourselves exclusively to the very entity that has been causing these divisions and benefiting from these divisions for however many hundreds of years. That to me, just on its face, doesn't make any sense. When we know, to the extent we should know, that there's a long history of this country fearing how the world views its treatment of its oppressed, internally colonized communities, and it does not like when those communities have political ties and solidarity with people in other countries and movements outside of this country. So to work with that effort by cutting ourselves off to again exclusively side with the team creating all this hostility and inequality doesn't make any sense at all. And isn't it true that we're talking ultimately about, when we're talking about an immigrant population, we're only talking about
10%.
Say what?
10%. That's if I remember it correctly, that's all immigrant Black people coming in the country, and I don't even think it reaches that totally.
Wait, you're saying 10% of all immigrants?
10% of Black immigrants in this country is only 10% of the population, or 10% of the Black population
is an immigrant population.
Yes, 10% of the Black population.
Of the Black population is immigrant. Okay, so again, not insignificant, but not that much that they are to the similar claim being made about the 4% that I think it is of immigrants nationally that exist in the population. I think of the entire U.S. population, the immigrant population is 4%, and is being blamed for siphoning off all of the resources. And in a similar way that we're meant to believe within Black America that this 10% population of immigrants is taking all of the resources and all of the jobs and all of the benefits that should be going to Black people in the United States. And again, without raising the question, who is doing the hiring, who is determining the maldistribution of the wealth that we're all creating, and none of us are involved in that. But instead of targeting that group with our criticism and complaint and organization, we're being encouraged to say, let's point to a handful of people in our community and say that they're the problem and that they're the reason why we're not getting our reparations.
And these are equal.
So on and so forth.
These are equal claims that they also make. I call them Black MAGA. So they make the same claims across the board.
Yeah.
So they also make the same or similar claims that people make about that population. Now the research the research also shows that when they ask, where do you get these thoughts from, these negative sentiments from? And they all blame it on white media, propaganda, what they were taught by white people. From the what are the people called when they're from the church and they come into your town and missionaries and all types of different mediums that introduce these ideas into their mind. And it also shows that over time, as they come here to America and experience racism, because that's another thing. When you're in a country that's all Black, you see racism, you might even think it even exists. And I know that shows up in your class as well, perhaps, because you blame things on each other because you see each other. It's like in Baltimore, like people in Baltimore don't have, unless they really think about it, they can blame everything on Black people. Because like white people are here, but they really we don't in Baltimore really know whiteness. We don't. You never thought of that?
Not quite in that way, but yeah, I get your point.
And I'm gonna tell you, I teach at a school in southwestern Pennsylvania. When you go there,
you feel it.
You feel whiteness. Hey, bro, you feel it in your bones. The children and the businesses look at you like you're a mascot. I mean, it's up in the mountains. You know what I mean? It's serious over there. So what I'm saying is, but people in Baltimore don't know to the same degree what white oppression feels like. It's so easy to say, I don't care about white people. And we, in Baltimore, white people we think white people they rule it, but they get out of my way. It's kind of like it's not the same everywhere.
I get it. It makes sense. It's yeah, I can see that.
So
that's fascinating.
So that's one thing. Like, so when they survey people, these differences, they all point back to white supremacy ideology and their education and all the different things. And also it shows, though, again, with time, they begin to understand racism because they experienced something quite like Ida B. Wells didn't understand the significance of what was going on in the South until she got down there and her comrades.
Well, but there's also the class element of the immigrants, particularly from the continent, that come here, that plays a role in this, and many of them are coming from class positions that are elevated, that are above what is the standard condition of the average Black American. So they are encouraged, even if they do experience racism, to distance themselves from Black people, to try to make that claim.
Where do they get that from, though?
But that's my point.
Yeah,
that's sort of my point. This is all encouraged by the settler colonial capitalist environment that this is taking place in, and from the neo-colonial environment that is that they're leaving back home. Again, as I've tried to point out, and I with moderate success over the years in my classroom, Nigeria is no more authentically Black than Baltimore. Kenya is no more authentically African, I should say, than DC. Jamaica is no more or less authentically African than South Africa. And my point being that none of these entities are constructs of an African community for African communities. These are all the responses and the leftovers of European imperialism. So we're all operating under constructs and even identities. I mean, again, Ghanaian is not an authentically African identity. That's one imposed by British imperialism. Baltimore, our identities here in the United States, as Malcolm X said, the American Negro is a construct of the white man, is a white invention. So we are all constructs of and variations of this European imperial process that has enslaved and colonized us throughout this diaspora. And instead of recognizing the commonality of that and bringing unity to that, which has always been a primary target of those who rule, we are being encouraged by these groups to work backwards and in service of those who rule by aiding in their division of us and our separation, which only weakens us. So it's again, this is not some blind, ignorant call, as I know and in our work, in our circles would know, but this is not some blind call for some erasure of difference and collapsing of uniqueness. And it's not to say that we are unaware of problems in this, that, and the third, but it is about being clear about what is the appropriate response to all of this, so that we don't end up in a situation where instead of talking to you and I are talking to one another, we're in conversations, as we've been seeing lately with Tucker Carlson, getting that's our analysis from them.
Thank you.
I mean, that's just crazy.
Can you? That was my question. That's the one I forgot 5 times as you talk. Can you please talk about that?
I mean, this was passed on to me. Because I don't watch these outlets, so I'm only made aware of them through other people's critique. But to see members of the FBA community in these happy gatherings with Tucker Carlson is, I know this begins to sound like old man thing, but I promise you, if you 30 years ago, this would have not been thought of as even a possibility, never mind a likelihood. If you had said to me in 1990, this dude who's beginning to have a career on CNN and wherever the hell else he came from is going to end up having anything to say to anybody Black about anything, I would have bet anything. I would have been in big trouble by right now. I'd have been trying to recover everything. You'd have had everything, because it's just inconceivable to me that a group of Black anything from anywhere would sit down with this complete white supremacist, nationalist, backwards. I don't have anything positive to say. I don't want to.
What happened? I mean, like, what did you broke it down?
You have me sitting in. I don't know how this, but again, this is my point though. Where
he said, I like Tariq. I like that guy. He said those FBA people or something like that. I like that guy, and it's right. You know, those other people are coming into the country and they're not African American, like all that type of thing.
Right. He said, what did he say at one point? He said something about at least, Black Americans have something about lineage or something.
Oh yeah, lineage. Yeah.
Something about a history here. Yeah. Like. So in all seriousness,
and they was pushing their chest out about this.
Oh, I know this. Well, that's
we made the mainstream. They said
that's bizarre. That is. Sometimes, I've joked about this before, and I know we all are happy to be noticed and recognized and to be invited. But at some point, you have to look at the invitation you've gotten and say, who sent me this?
Dude,
where are you asking me to go?
I think somebody told me he had already been on Tucker Carlson's show before. Now, I got some friends that say, it's a little deeper than it is. And I appreciate you being very scholarly in your approach. Now I want to bring it back before we bring some people in, Doc, but it's kind of like this. To me, it's clear that it's psychological warfare. They have all types of catechisms. They have all types of apologetics. They like if you say a thing, they have the comeback, whether or not it makes any sense at all. The people are programmed. It's kind of like this co-expert named Stephen Hassan, who wrote this book called The Cult of Trump, where cults don't quite look the same as they look now. I mean, that they looked in the past. That Trump is a cult-like figure that have a variety of cults that follow him on a variety of levels. Yeah. And he broke it down. And I say that a lot of these people who show up in these spaces who are like chameleons who change their skin, their labels, they're this and that, and they use people. I just wrote a letter to a dear Elder Baba earlier today, and because this Elder Baba, I ain't gonna lie, it's kind of like bother me a little bit to see him get on these platforms and say that FBA is something. It's not anti-African. It's not anti Pan-Africanist, and it's about a lineage. A specific birthright and all this type of thing, and act as if they ain't planning. Like, I feel like he playing in my face, to be honest with you. I wrote him a very diplomatic letter today, and I don't even do these type of things. But at this point, I think I've been around long enough. So go ahead.
No, I don't have it. I was
you're not gonna play in my face like that. In fact, it's not even about me. It's about you ain't gonna play in my people's face like that. Yeah. And that goes back to what we spoke about earlier. I decided that I'm going to take this up because a lot of us, especially those on the cultural side, we like, they are brothers and sisters on all the sides. And I'm not saying, look, I do understand FBA and their hurt. I see it, I psychosocial analyze it as a lot of hurt, just like MAGA, a lot of hurt people, a lot of hurt, traumatized people who have to point outwardly. And I'm not saying the white man hasn't done a lot of things, but what I'm saying is they point the fingers at other victims, or if you want to use that, other oppressed people, if you want to use that, whatever term you want to use, it's okay. If that's not your term, just fill it in. You understand what I'm trying to say. But Doc and family, go ahead and hit the link if you want to join this conversation and join the studio live with Dr. Ball. Family, hit the video, like the video, share the video, do all the things. We got a special brother in the house, a very bright, brilliant mind. I'm gonna pour it on him because whatever it is, it makes him turn red a bit. So nonetheless, beautiful brother.
It doesn't take much.
It
don't take much.
It doesn't take much. No. Yeah, but family, join us inside. Hit the link. I'm gonna throw the link in there one more time. But go ahead. So my argument is clear, Doc. I want to hear you kind of like, okay, you know what? Somebody join. Let's see. You don't got much more time, so I'm gonna just join and I'm gonna stop that conversation right there. I see proper Perspective is in the building. I see you got your camera, so I'm going to allow you to actually come up there, brother. What's popping?
Peace. What's going on?
Peace.
What's happening?
Not too much. I mean, I'm just getting in, so I missed some of the beginning part because I was live on my own. But I wanted to. I thought I was going to be able to jump in with a question, but I don't necessarily have a question. I was looking at some of the people having a conversation in the comments about Busta Rhymes and what he said about African American culture as an extension of this whole FBA chip on the shoulder type thing. And maybe so. I guess I would ask, like, are either of you brothers are you familiar with what that whole thing was?
I'm not.
With Busta Rhymes.
Busta Rhymes and what?
Well, somebody in the chat is asking. They're trying to use it as like a litmus test because the idea from the FBA, they're always like, if you don't call out person X for saying,
I called out Busta Rhymes
statement A, then you not with us. And
so if you're talking about Busta Rhymes and saying that Black Americans don't have culture, is that what you're talking about?
That's what I'm, that's what I'm bringing up. I didn't necessarily catch all of the statements. I was trying to do like a quick search to see what specific statement they're talking about, and apparently Busta Rhymes has made 3 or 4 different, problematic statements. So yeah, one about African Americans not having any culture, and I've covered that myself before. I haven't covered him.
I think though that Dr. Ball has been very clear that the problem exists, and he sees it even in his classes. But Doc, you got something to say to that?
Well, I haven't heard what exactly he said, but the idea that Black people don't have a culture is again absurd, and it goes back to the point that I was just making a moment ago. As I understand it, that the idea that I'm assuming he would argue that I think it's his Jamaican background provides him with some more cultural authority, or even a continental African background would give some more cultural authenticity. And but my argument is that none of these places are authentically African. So the idea that that African cultural practice would be entirely erased within Black America, while it would be preserved in some more authentic way on the continent or even in the Caribbean, I think is at minimal flawed as an approach. Like, all of these spaces are negatively impacting what would be considered anything along the lines of an authentic African cultural experience or perspective. So Black America is just another variant of the assault on that and the adjustments that are made within those contexts. So as Africans throughout the diaspora, including on the continent, have had to respond to their imperial, enslaved, and colonized contexts and have their traditions assaulted and distorted, the same process has been played out in a different way, in a different variety here in the United States. But it's the same. It's the same foundational or fundamental process that is born out of European colonization, imperialism, enslavement, and so on. So to say that Black people have some unique lack of Africanity is, I think, misplaced.
Absolutely. Brother Cuz, do you have something else? Because I know we have KP on as well. We can bring both of you in if you just want to sit on for the remainder.
I'll sit for a little bit, but if something pops up, then I'll jump back in, or you can pull me back if you need to bring other folk on. That's cool.
Can I also just throw some as a hip hop head, as someone who has seen Busta perform live and been a fan since he with Leaders of a New School and all of that. I still would want to raise a question around who are we going to as authorities on any of these topics, and who is being platformed and encouraged to be authorities on any of these topics. I don't know that he's the one I think we should be going to for a discussion of any of this. But
why not? I mean, I just want to ask the question.
I mean, the why not for me? Well, one, I mean, he's, you know, what I'm aware of is in terms of his career is as one of the best MCs ever. Someone I've argued for doesn't get enough credit in that regard. He has not demonstrated I'm not aware of him demonstrating any competency with any of these topics or any of these issues. I don't or have any track record of engaging these spaces and arguments. I've never seen him in any organizational spaces. I've never heard about him.
Do you rap? Do you rap?
I'm nice. I'm actually nice I'm a nice freestyler when I'm alone in the car in traffic.
Okay, so should they come to you about not hip hop culture or history, but to rap?
I get what you're saying. And no, I don't.
I mean, are you that nice?
I don't. As nice as I think I am, I think to your point, though, I have not demonstrated anywhere a competency in that craft that would warrant someone coming to me and saying,
that's a major argument of mine, because I always say you can say that in every other field, many other fields. You can look, don't cut nobody hair because you're not trained. You can say that in all the other fields. Like, look, bro, you're not a good MC, bro. Like, you can say that's a good poet, but you can't be an academic. And academics can't say, look, I want another level.
Yeah.
You know, or intellectual or a scholar. You can't say, I mean, I'm saying to say it because look, I think we have to say it. Look, I know you're very good at stringing them words together, and I know you probably don't like that either. You know, another compliment, but nonetheless, you're very good at stringing it. I'm just saying, look, bro, Busta ain't on that level. Busta Rhymes ain't on the academic, intellectual, or studied level to even be in the conversation, and we disrespect our academics and the people who put the work in by continuous going to football players. Pardon, I'm not saying they can't be a both and, but for the most part, we ain't even looking at their resume to see if they're qualified to talk. So, nonetheless, KP, what it is? KP? Oh, I think KP left. Now, American Dream, man, I'm disappointed with that crappy video you put out today. I'm gonna bring you on, but that video you put out, I told you should take it down because it's horrible. And you use ChatGPT, and then you left. Oh, look. I'm not going to bring that up. I'll do another video on that, but I'm gonna let you talk to the doc.
You already brought it up, but thanks for the shout out, though, American Dream guy. Peace to you, Dr. Bell.
Ball.
I think. I'm sorry. Say that again.
Ball.
I'm sorry, Dr. Ball. My apologies. But he said that if I remember clearly, he said that he doesn't necessarily think that it's psychological warfare. But you said you believe it is.
He didn't say that. He didn't say that.
Okay, so he does think it's psychological warfare as well.
He didn't say either strongly, but you can ask him.
No, go ahead and finish your point.
Right, because I have a question, like whether he said or not, you know, if he does, he can answer the question. My question is like, what is the ultimate goal of, what do you think is the ultimate goal of that warfare? What are they trying to accomplish by starting this war?
No, well, again, as I was saying earlier, or trying to say, that the ultimate goal, the overall goal of the entire media environment is to create a psychological warfare effect that in specific to this discussion for Black America is to discourage radical forms of political organization in response to the oppression, which includes, from the perspective of the ruling elite in their own statements, radical forms of Pan-Africanism, tendencies towards socialism and communism, and all, you know, those forms of political organization. So that's why I'm saying I can't say definitively that FBA or ADOS are a consciously constructed psychological warfare project and emanating from some sort of agency or outfit or whatever. I'm simply saying their arguments fit within the logic and the design and the goal of those who created this settler colonial situation in the first place, and the media environment and the communicative environment that protects it. So that's, I hope that helps, but that's what I was trying to say.
It definitely does help because I do find them to be anti-Pan-Africanists. So when you say that they're trying to downplay that type of stuff, I can understand where you're coming from. So yeah, I do appreciate that.
No problem. Thank
All
you.
right, so that's pretty much the question that I had. If Dr. Daw wanted to add anything to it, that would be great.
American Dream, man, you disappointed me, man. Look.
You
I'm
said
triggered.
you weren't going to talk about that.
I don't even get triggered, but you triggered me.
You said you weren't going to talk about that.
Huh?
You said you weren't.
I didn't talk about it yet.
Mind.
I'm just saying.
Well, let's make people. Can we have people be their own judge?
Say it again.
We should just let people judge it on their own.
Look, I've listened to your research before. That one was crappy. Listen to me. Believe me, I've given you plenty of credit, and it's crappy. Go and Google it again. You ain't got to do much more than Google it again.
I don't remember you giving me much credit, so I'm not quite sure what you're talking about there.
Keep doing the good work. Didn't I tell you to do that the other day on one of your videos the other day?
Yeah, I don't know if that's plenty of credit, but okay.
That's credit. Keep doing the good work. I mean, what else do you need? What do you consider credit?
Well, you mentioned that on one of my videos. I have hundreds of videos, so I just don't consider it plenty of credit.
Well, when you came on my show, I gave you credence to the things you were saying until you said, "Did you believe in the American dream?"
Yeah, I don't remember that. I don't remember that part either. But
right,
you know,
brother,
it's all good. Yes, sir. You don't believe in the American.
So, all right. So, who it be? BAP, Midwest, Dre?
Yeah, what up?
I would bring you up, but I don't want you to mess my shot up. Your face
No. It's love. It's love.
This is a good dude right here.
He said you're a good dude, so I should bring you up.
Yeah, it's because
let me leave people alone today.
Yeah, as a principal hater, iconoclast, I despise FBA and Solon and all that shit. So like I research these people. So they have a YouTube page. FBA and Solon are the same thing. Tariq Nasheed basically sent his acolytes out to create a new term so that way they can try to finesse and basically like coalesce Africanness, so-called blackness or whatever within this country and make it American. That's what they want. They want to be American.
Absolutely.
So like even the arguments that have been happening with Shabuzi saying, immigrants built this country, which is wrong because they were enslaved people that built this country. And then even that argument that built this country, that connotes labor in the form of work. They weren't working. Like you die if you don't fucking pick cotton. You die if you don't. That's not work. That's labor. So like but the FBAs are arguing like, no, we built this country and yada yada yada. It's like it's making it into a situation where the FBA Solon people, they're not ADOS no more. So the FBA Solon people are trying to be the Rottweiler at the door, that Biggie line. They're trying to be that. They're trying to be the dog for white supremacy in the white hegemonic system. And it is very, very disturbing to see how so many of these people operate where they just really want to be white. And if we understand that race is a social construct and you understand the sociogeny of race, you realize like, oh, okay, whiteness is something that
Dre.
Yeah, my bad.
Hey, look, you can go.
My bad.
Dre, you even realize all I had to do is say Dre and you popped out of it.
I hate them, bro.
Hey Dre, if they can't see your face, but you was like, damn, I was on one.
I hate them, bro. I told you.
Look, I know I got a comrade. That's what I do know.
Yeah.
Look, but let me be clear. Yeah. And I appreciate Dr. Ball's approach today. He being nice. Look, that's the nice Dr. Ball. I don't see that too much. You know what I'm saying? He's stringing along all types of letters today. The words and but he's keeping it very balanced, very meiotic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So but I get it. That's what season does to you. You dig what I'm saying?
Right.
But I appreciate it, and I appreciate the approach because I do understand it's essential that again the reason why I come a bit more critical of my brothers and sisters here, especially a lot of them because they come through these camps.
Yeah,
it's Dr. Ball. This is what I wanted to say to him earlier. one of the things that he's always, like he said earlier, I don't know if he said it on the camera or before we got on the camera, is that he did say it on the camera. Like our elders and other scholars have already told us about these things. Like it's not like we don't know that we're struggling with miseducation. I mean, that goes far. Look, that goes all the way back 1933 and before then. I'm just saying the book was published in 1933. So I'm saying that it's not like we don't know that we're struggling with internalized racism. That we're not struggling with all these different things. It's like, but my comrades that were once here are there. Because again, I understand we're hurt and pain, and I'm not trying to make mockery of it. But I do understand when you hurt, when you're dealing with the same books, the post-traumatic slave syndrome and all these other things is showing up because you feel defeated and you need a big daddy to come and save the day. But he will not save the day.
Right.
You say that he's not your leader, but you quote him ad nauseum. It's like everything he says, like the very fact that he could say that he can come against Baba James Small. Now you saying the same thing he said about Baba James Small, the very same thing, and he says all types of mess out of his mouth. I know they're gonna say, "Oh, he's just coming for Tariq." Yeah, today I just let it off a little. Look, I can't. I mean, I sometimes just don't mention his name, but this ain't one of those days. I'm sorry,
I feel you.
This ain't one of those days. We can't. I'm not sitting here playing boogeyman and acting like you like he don't exist today. I'm gonna go back tomorrow when I come for American Dream and that crappy video he put out.
You just gotta understand the enemy. You gotta.
I'm gonna just give you a piece of it. He literally said something like, "This is why FBA is hurt because American Dream. I don't know. American Dream. I don't know." He put something out talking about Caribbeans contributed to the Revolutionary War more than Africans who were here, enslaved and free Africans here in the States. Literally, he's arguing that they contributed more to the Revolutionary War than the African people who fought here on both sides. He actually tried to go and say the numbers were greater with them, and he counted all Caribbeans. He counted all the Caribbeans. Now, this brother, American Dream, who was a Caribbean brother himself, who comes up with a lot of good points at times, but this one he's wrong on. And he's going to say, well, about 10,000 Caribbeans fought, or not even fought. They contributed in different ways. And this is inclusive of white Caribbeans and black Caribbeans and all the enslaved Caribbeans and free Caribbeans. But he's juxtaposing that against black. He's juxtaposing that against the black freed and enslaved populations who fought on the side of either side. Once he only used the numbers. He conflated and said it was both those who fought on both sides and said it was only 5,000 to 8,000.
Right.
And he said that's not a significant amount of anybody fighting on the war. And white people are actually the ones who earned you your freedom, and they're the ones who gave you all your contributions and all those type of things. But even if, look, I'm not even gonna get into the silliness of that conversation. But he also did not speak to the tens of thousands of black free and unfree people who fought on the side of the British. He tried to conflate and act like that 8,000 to 10,000 number was all of them. No, and try to say there's more Caribbeans fighting because he said 5,000 to 8,000 people fought on the side of the in the Revolutionary War, and so he said that we didn't do anything for it. Now, I'm not even arguing that we should have, but I do know that there were many more tens of thousands of black people from this particular continent. I mean, not continent, this country, who fought on the side of the British because they offered them. And he's an Africana major, so African studies and black studies, something. He got all the things Cornell University. So nonetheless,
American Dream went to the Africana Studies and Research.
No, you.
I'm
still giving you your flowers, right? So, what I'm saying, so this is what American Dream is saying. I'm saying take it down. I'm saying, bro, take it down, bro.
I got a question.
You went to ChatGPT and you had to forget. Like ChatGPT will tell you the truth if they think you want the truth. Either you left out some stuff on ChatGPT or ChatGPT know you don't want to hear the other side.
First of all,
I got a question.
Let me just be perfectly honest. I'm going to have to go back and rewind this part of the tape.
Yeah.
probably
I got a
tomorrow
question.
morning when I have my coffee, because I'm already I'm way too tired to have followed all of those details and the logic that was strung together there.
Yeah.
So I'll just assume for the moment that your conclusions are right in critiquing that argument. But I couldn't follow all of that right now. I got to be honest with you.
I got a question.
Please go look, and we're gonna have to let Dr. Ball go. So ask the question,
It's
and we
real
go
quick.
Go ahead.
From that, so two things. One, as like my dad's side of the family's from Trinidad, so like in the war. No, but wait. This is only to like play on, because whatever that wild shit that you just told me. So my dad's side of the family's from Trinidad, right? So like during the war, 1812, the fucking British used enslaved Africans and some freed Africans and had them fight on the side of the British to burn down the cracker house. And then when they did that, they sent them to Trinidad, and they was like, hey, so because y'all fought for us, we're gonna give you a piece of land, and y'all gonna be whatever y'all want to be. So there's like little colonies in Trinidad called for Americans. They're not American, they're Americans. They were Caribbean African people who fought for the British, who got some land, basically some colonized land in Trinidad. I say all that to say, all of that shit you just told me, what the fuck does that mean in the grand scheme of things? Like, Africans who we fought for white people, I don't understand why that, like, why does he care?
He's saying here, his point is, he said, I'm missing the point. I'm not missing the point. You have to get your data right, first of all. And to say, and because I hear a lot of not Peniel Joseph, what's his name? Thomas Sowell coming out of you.
Oh God.
I hear a lot of Thomas Sowell coming out of you, American Dream. And that's why you told me that when I told you I don't believe in American Dream, you asked me where else would I want to be? Like what does that have anything to do with it? Like, what I'm saying is, that's the question you asked me where I derailed. I didn't want our conversations to go off the rails the last time you came up here, because you were saying some good stuff until you asked me that question. So I didn't even entertain it. What I'm saying is, bro, take the video down. Because your stats are wrong, first of all. Your interpretations of the data is wrong, and you actually said these things. I mean, I do get what you're saying. You can clean it up, and it can make sense. But your stuff is wrong, bro.
What does it mean, though?
Say it again.
Like Crispus Attucks was the first person to die for the American Revolutionary. What does that mean? What does it mean? Like, what? Who cares?
I'm like Dr. Ball right now, brother. You're a little too sharp for me at this late hour. But I will say, Dr. Ball has to go. He's past his bedtime. You know, he's a highly demand 4-4 professor at the great Morgan State. Dr. Ball, I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate the good fights you get into. I appreciate all of those things. But maybe in closing, you can just drop something. You know, we had a little fun today.
No, I had a lot of fun, and I appreciate the invitation. Salute to the chat and to our colleagues on the panel now, and your whole staff, the crack staff that you have working here. You know, no, the whole operation. I love the spot. I love the space. I appreciate the invitation and the work that you're doing, and I look forward to the next one.
Look, Doc, they just getting hot. The numbers going up. They want more. No.
and tomorrow, because I can't do it tonight, but tomorrow I'm gonna have that great meal that I got downstairs too.
Okay. And I'll send American Dream. If you don't take the video down, oh my God, can you take this? Your dear sister, can I?
Yeah.
Okay, because I know she had you on, and I'm hoping they invite me. And brother, cuz if you got something, look, Tika, make it short, because look, he be needing to go to bed, and
I mean, it's
what's up,
it's
Sister
a long
Tika?
day.
Are you there?
And you got me out here in these urban settings.
We're in the most northeastern part of the city.
I got to get out to but I'm not. I got to get back out to them tree-lined streets.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying, you got me out here in all this brick and concrete. You know what I'm saying? I told him
I'm here.
We can hear you.
Okay. Hi, good afternoon. Good evening, Dr. Ball. How are you?
Good evening. I'm doing as good as could be expected. Thank you. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. It was a pleasure to interview you as well, along with my team. I appreciate you coming in and trust me, it was a lot of interest. A lot of everybody loved that particular interview. So thank you once again.
No, it's a pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. And thank you for bringing me up, brother. I do appreciate you. I wanted to, talk about this FBA thing. Well, like I said, I'm on TikTok in the trenches with this stuff on a daily, basis. And that's kind of what we do. Last night was a very unique evening. We got to actually interact with, Lucifer himself, Tariq Nasheed. I'm gonna just call him the Prince of Darkness because there's nothing positive that's going on there. Absolutely nothing positive that's going on there. The ultimate grift for the most nefarious intent on the planet, which is just disunity of Black people. In my opinion, that's one of the worst things you can do as a Black person is to cause whether indirect harm to our people. I just, like I said, a lot of people have rhetoric on either side of this thing, but my thing about it, and ultimately, is it moral? Is it the moral thing to do?
Is that a question?
No, I mean, it's a comment, but I would like, that. It's a statement.
Morals, the atheist.
I'm just saying. I understand. I'm not a believer of Abrahamic faith myself, but I do understand that intrinsically, as a human being, we should be doing either good or bad, and okay. But go ahead. Sorry.
No, I agree with you. That's all I was saying.
Yeah. So I had the opportunity. Hello?
Yeah, we here.
Okay. I had the opportunity last night to encounter him on someone's live. It was very, so a lot of people were there and everything else. And one of the things I was asking him about was directly about lineage and what that means. What does this thing exactly mean? Because if you know your history, you know how interconnected the gene pool is of Black people in the Western Hemisphere. That when we're talking about quote unquote lineage, it's literally one that is possibly you have direct or contact or even familial relations with folks who are in the Caribbean. Especially during the early aspect of British colonization. We're talking about going into North Carolina, South Carolina, the stock of people that was brought in from places like Barbados, for example. And then yes.
Look, you're gonna get me in trouble. Do you have a question for the dear Baba, or you just look? I'm gonna have to bring you on. When you coming on? Look, you just be flowing with it like that. I don't know.
I'm sorry.
I'm on teach, and you are. It is.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I do apologize.
Huh?
I do apologize. No problem. Okay, so Dr. Ball, when it comes to what we see today in regards to the lack of solidarity amongst Black people, and then those who are gaining from it monetarily, what do you feel is going to be the outcome in regards to relations between people within the diaspora? And how do you think that's going to be as far as a forecast for us, like socioeconomically? How can we build, ties that's supposed to be able to help us in that sense? For example, building relations, building, trade, building just communication when we have so many people who are dedicated to the dismantling of that for profit.
So, first of all, I appreciate the question, and it's good to hear from you again. I don't pretend to have a really good answer to this. I think that we do, and I admit that I think the real answers to that question have to come from politically organized spaces that are not on camera and not mic'd. In this moment, I'll at least say that I think that the kind of discussions we're having here, the kind of work represented in Dr. Winkler's efforts here, beyond the platform, but in this whole institution, some of the work that our other comrades are involved in, I think that's the direction we have to go in. And if we don't become more of an interruptive force, you ask sort of a predictive question. If we don't become more of an interruptive force, the efforts of neocolonialism will continue to thrive. There will be more disunification, and the kind of wealth extraction that we're seeing will only increase. And the only thing that will interrupt it will be the actual physical destruction of the planet. So we do have to become more of, again, an interruptive force in this process. But how exactly? Beyond the standard, we have to be more politically organized, join more organizations. We have to do more off-record, off-mic, off-camera building, and then in those spaces, the real answers to all of this will come. Some of the simple stuff I think still, equally unpopular in terms of my arguments are build electoral alternatives. We cannot keep voting for these two parties. And we need to build electoral options and alternatives and candidates that are running on our platforms and are people we already know and we're not just waiting for them to be handed to us from one wing of the ruling elite or the other. Those kinds of above board things, as included what we're doing here, need to continue, and then be matched by some work offline and off record and again in politically organized spaces. That's
Thank you so much. I appreciate that answer, and I'm sorry I came in at the tail end of the discussion.
Make sure you just go back and watch it tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and watch one of your explanations that other, because and I do apologize for my inability to function this late in the evening.
Look, we're not gonna let you do that. KP, come up and give it to him before we roll, and because he always wants to say, "Well, my dysfunction and my brain, all that." Look, go ahead, KP.
No apologies, Dr. Ball. And with respect to your time, I just want to come up and say thank you. My daughter was in your class last semester, and she didn't fully understand everything that was on the syllabus, but I continued to interrogate her to the best of my ability on some of the concepts that you introduced in the class she took at Morgan State. So props to you. And for time's sake, I'll just cut it short. To the dear sister, I recommend, if you haven't already, you might have, read Randall Robinson's trilogy of works, From the Debt to the Reckoning to Leaving America. I may be wrong about the title of that third text, right? Also consult W.E.B. Du Bois' Last Words in Ghana, right? Because there's an argument that, and I hate to say this, but I know the brother's name is American Dream, right? But that he may not be able to save it. We may not be. Nah. Don't
I told
listen.
you that's the brother I was asking.
No,
you
no,
last
trust
week.
me, Edna.
I've had my battles with that dude.
Okay.
Who was saying I called him pseudo. He was just a pseudo
think there's some
on
hope
the other
there.
side
I
as
think there's some
Tariq
hope there.
Nasheed on one side. So
Look, finish giving, drop it, finish up with Dr. Ball his props, and then one more question, Dr. Ball, and we out.
all right. So yeah, my question to Dr. Ball:
Oh, you got a question too.
is it worth fighting for still? The black presence. I'm talking about Harry Haywood's postulation for the black belt as sovereign territory for black people. I'm talking. Is the fight still worth having?
That's a great question. First of all, I appreciate what you had to say, and I'm glad your daughter had a good experience in my class. It's always the greatest honor to hear that, and I appreciate that. And I love also that you said, and I even like the word interrogate, what she was learning in the class. I love that, so thank you for that. Look, I'll say this. At minimum, I think it's worth fighting for, if for no other reason. It's a better goal to strive and struggle around than some of the narrow and limited goals we're encouraged. I would even include to the extent we have discussions around reparations. Like, so if folks are going to focus, particularly in the way that Haywood was doing it, on the value and importance of the black belt and developing that thesis and that argument, absolutely, because even in quote unquote failure to achieve its proper establishment, the effort has to produce something better than what we're doing right now. It has to better, I think, focus our energies and our analyses and our efforts to interpret what's going on. And it seems like a far better project still than let's find various ways to better benefit off of this kind of clearly dying empire. So yeah, in short, yes, at minimum, it would advance us in terms of our political goals and aspirations. And it's a far better, I think, goal than any form of what is quote unquote an American dream, if I may, with all due respect.
Well, proper perspective, is on you, and we out of here.
And stakes
All
is
right,
high, right? KP.
Am I in?
Yes, sir. Yes.
We can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me. Okay, so I just wanted to ask the question: is the FBA zeitgeist, because they keep changing their names and whatnot, but are they succeeding in making African Americans prioritize state recognition for reparations from the oppressor, or are they making it more difficult with all of their back and forth arguing, fighting, and misnomered talk?
So this is interesting, and I was just having this conversation recently elsewhere, but the way I'm assessing the situation, and a lot of it, I admit, is based anecdotally on the experience I have with my students in the classroom, who I often use as a barometer for how well certain messages are hitting the community. But I think that directly, so like, for instance, none of my students will say that they've ever heard of, or very few of my students will say that they've ever heard of Tariq Nasheed or the founders of ADOS. Almost none of them have ever acknowledged even knowing that these groups exist. But they do, in some cases, mimic the arguments and the analysis that those groups are promoting. So I say that to say that I do think that they are having some negative impact beyond even it being a consciously recognized one on Black political discourse among particularly certain segments of not just young, but under politically educated spaces, as I would describe it. So, and as an extension of that, I don't think, and I might be wrong on this, I actually don't think that they have done anything to advance the likelihood of any form of reparations being paid to African America. I think what they've done is heighten the ability for reparations to be used as a manipulated tactic, as an electoral tactic, for instance, a talking point for a variety of different politicians and maybe, you know, their favorite new podcast talk show hosts and Tucker Carlson types. But I don't blame them for this part. I just don't think the ruling elite of this country and a majority of white Americans who would still be required to vote for such a thing are really ever going to take seriously some serious redistribution of the wealth of this country to Black people. So it's not going to happen without some sort of commensurate or parallel powerful outside force or political movement compelling them to do it. And the arguments that we've been critiquing all night, they're not going to generate that force. They're going to suppress it. So, which is why I can't definitively claim that these are, I don't have evidence that these are COINTELPRO, counterinsurgent, psychological warfare tactics deployed on us. But I would argue that they carry a lot of the traits of what would be the goal of such effort. That is to walk us away from all of the radical traditions or forms of the Black radical tradition and walk us back into the very safe confines of a conservative, white, nationalist, anti-Black, anti-African settler colony. So,
right.
So,
Thank
Dr.
you.
No, thank you.
Proper perspective. Thanks for the question, family chat. Thanks for joining us today. Dr. Ball, I don't know if you want to leave your whereabouts or how they can get in contact with you, all that type of thing.
I mix what I like on most social media. If we're going to use that, although I am trying to get away from that. So really, I mix what I like at gmail.com. You can find me, of course, on YouTube and on Black Liberation Media. And I'm easy to reach. I mixwhatIlike.org, So, and it's been an honor. It's been great. I've had a lot of fun. And I look forward to coming back. I appreciate the invitation. Thank you.
Dr. Ball, I appreciate you coming out. Been quite I'm going to have to go and listen back to this tomorrow myself, because you strung along a lot of lines of information that I think is pivotal. The pieces I caught, I know it's going to be food for the people. I appreciate it. And I appreciate your mind. I got to close out with making you feel uncomfortable. I appreciate your presence.
No, I thought you were going to say, do we get the club music on the outro too?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah,
we
that's
do.
What's up.
And I'm going to say, Dr. Ball, did a little bit of this.
Break it down.
He did a little bit of break it down. I just got to pay a little bit of that, because last week I realized they got some I didn't know they had copyright on the Baltimore club music. I guess they said to break it down. That they did. Some of them they don't, but that particular one right there,
come on, man.
They got me last week a little bit, but we sharing. They said sharing. That's good. That's very
that's communal.
Yes. But nonetheless, family, Dr. Ball, was a pleasure having you here. I appreciate you doing a little extra time and all that type of thing, and doing all the work that you do for the people. I appreciate your family for allowing you to do it as well. Your dear wife, your young ladies, and all that, for allowing you for sharing you with us. Until next time, family, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this video. Make sure you put some comments underneath of it. Look. I know the FBA are coming. I know. See, and this is what I said. I was talking to my dear brother earlier today. Look, Pan-Africanists, I don't know, put something there. Put a red. Look, y'all don't have to say nothing. Just put red, black, and green there. Put something, salute, video for Houdier. Put something in there. You don't gotta. I know we don't want to talk. We don't want to fuss. We don't want to fight. But just let your presence be felt. Do that. Until next time, family, we're gonna say peace and power.
When you claim you're Africanist, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Black and I'm proud. When you claim you're Africanist, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim you're African. Black and I'm proud. I'm telling you. When you claim you're Africanist, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim you're African. Black and I'm proud. I'm telling you. When you claim you're Africanist, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim you're African. Black and I'm proud. I'm telling you. Become a part of it. Embrace it. 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 When you claim you're Africanist, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim you're African. Black and I'm proud. I'm telling you. When you claim you're Africanist, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim you're African.